And welcome once again to 31 Days of Live Horror. Today we are talking terror on the small screen. For a lot of us, our first introduction to horror isn't normally like a horror film or a horror movie. It's like a TV show, something that we saw, maybe a film that we saw on late at night. For people my age, a lot of those were like made-for-TV horror films. Or my very first introduction to horror on this at all was Scooby-Doo. And I guess that fits as horror on the small screen. That would be my very first introduction to like the monsters, the horror, and from there would have been Universal horror and stuff like that. What did I what? Where did I get my Walking Dead? There's a story. Hey, Javed, there's actually a little story behind that, I'll tell you. I was not watching The Walking Dead at the time, and I watched like the first season, and I just kind of fell off. So I walked into a hey Scudder, I walked into a flea market, and there was this table. It was like late at the flea market. It was probably like around 10 months left, right? And there was this girl there, and she had Walking Dead season 1, and she also had on that table this here in the box, and she had the one for season 3, which is the heads in the I'll show you after, the heads in like the governor's head like aquarium. So this was actually made by Greg Nicotero, who made the Walking Dead zombies. So, and if you've ever seen like Creepshow, he's the guy behind Creepshow. Anyway, this one here was $20, and it was even out of print at the time. And so was the other one. And she gave me the first season Walking Dead for free. So that's how I got my Walking Dead. And then I ended up buying the 4th season that had the tree zombie one, which I do have the special edition of that one as well. So if you want me to, I'll show you those after. This is the head for season 2, and which season? And probably, I guess, out of all the special editions that have been done, this is usually considered the best. We're getting right into it. Twilight Zone. What's my favorite episode of Twilight Zone? That's hard. I mean, I love Twilight Zone. Episodes like with the doll, the Talkie Teen and all, that stands out with Tally Savalas. Yeah, creep me out. Time Enough will Last, right? He did a couple. Burgess Meredith did a couple. So you've got to. I'm gonna guess it's probably this one. A put upon bank teller who just wants to read. He's just looking for time to read. Finally gets time after pretty much after the apocalypse, and he breaks his glasses. And it's not fair. It's not fair, because he finally had all the time in the world. He had time enough at last. So it's a little dark here. Is this okay? Do I need to turn on the light? The fact that I'm upstairs because it's not too cold to be downstairs today actually, but I just, it's comfortable. But if you guys want me to move downstairs afterwards, I can. I did bring all my stuff upstairs for this video. So I feel like almost like kind of a deep throat type character. So what are some of your favorite, before I get into some of my favorites, I did watch a few last night. I actually I brought a bunch of stuff up last night, and I started watching random episodes of random shows. So to kind of get the feel for it, and I did watch a few more this morning as well. What are some of your favorite horror shows? What stands out to you when it comes to horror, like small screen horror? Because I'm going to rank the American Horror Story seasons up to Cult, because I haven't seen Apocalypse. And I'm going to talk about a lot of different horror shows and movies and stuff like that. Wolf Creek, I don't own that one, but I saw the first season. Yeah, but I have not seen season 2. I loved season 1. I heard season 2 is more of an anthology-esque series, and I'm not quite sure if that's going to work, but I'm hoping it's going to be good. but I have seen the first season, and I thought it was fantastic. And I forgot to bring Heart Rose Island, which is downstairs, and I love that show. Yeah, season one is kind of like a narrative, like a straightforward like anthology narrative, and like all the episodes go together. Season two basically is I should have brought up that, man, damn it. Okay, I forgot a lot of stuff. I might have to run downstairs and grab some more of this stuff. You guys, when I get enough people in there talking, that's what I'm going to do. But let's start in a simple way. Let's start with the ranking of the American Horror Story seasons. I'm going to do that really, because I got them here. I'm going to do that really quick. I'm going to rank the American Horror Story seasons. No, I can't forget Hannibal. I love the series Hannibal. Only one of them has a... let's go from worst to best. So, I'm going to put my best first. This is how I'm doing it, because it's my ranking. Hey, Kathy, welcome. You made it in. I was actually just going to text you. You know that? So I'm going to put that as number 2. This is hard. Where's it at? 3. All right, getting ready for work. I've got, anybody here like American Horror Story? Because I'm about to do my ranking. You've not seen any. We can actually talk about them. Walking Dead, The Haunting of Hill House, good one. American Horror, Bates Motel. I should have, damn, there's another show I forgot to bring up. Bates Motel I loved as well. Don't worry, we'll talk about all those. So this is my ranking from worst to best for the seasons of American Horror Story for people that like American Horror Story or have seen it or are kind of wondering about the show itself. So when I say worst, I have enjoyed pretty much all the seasons of American Story. There hasn't been one that I really haven't liked, but just in the order of liking them. Hey, good afternoon, Weldon. I'm gonna do. I miss Jessica Lange. I hope she comes back. I would like to see her come back. So these are the first 7 seasons. I don't have Apocalypse. I have not seen it, so I can't comment on that season. Though I am watching AHS 84, and I'm enjoying that so far. I've only seen the first 2 episodes, though. So in 7th place is American Horror Story Roanoke. I did really enjoy aspects of this season, and it was neat the way they did the kind of the true crime aspect of it. But I don't know if I'm going to go back to this season like anytime in the near future, so we're going to put it in 7th place. Next up is Cult. I found this season was good, but it lulled in some places. It kind of had some like spots where it just kind of, I just didn't get into it in certain aspects. I did like the way that it ended. I liked the beginning. I liked kind of the clown aspect. I do like the fact that they brought on the girl from Scream Queens. I thought she was a really good addition to the cast. And as American Horror Story 84 is showing, she's continuing to be like a great addition to the cast. And it was nice to see them bring on somebody from the series Popular as well in the new season of American Horror Story. But so this is number 6. You guys can make comments on these if you've seen them, by the way. In the number 5 place is one that a lot of people put up higher in their ranking of American Horror Story, and that is Freak Show. Freak Show it has good parts, but it's more of one of those that has good sequences as it is like a good solid overall arc to it. I like aspects of Freak Show. It's the last season with Jessica Lange, if I remember correctly. And I can kind of see why she didn't come back. You love Freak Show? Maybe I got to watch it again. I'll give it a rewatch. I've only watched all these once, except for one season, which I will tell you about. Actually, there's 2. That's a lie. But Freak Show is in the number 5 place. Number 4 is Hotel. Now, Hotel was a controversial season. Some people didn't like it. This is where Lady Gaga came in. to the series, but I like the aesthetic of the tale. I like the way that was done. I enjoyed a lot of kind of like the subplots and stories that kind of wove in and around the hotel. I think they could have done more with it, but that being said, I thought this was a solid season. Enjoyed it. Did you like Hotel? In the number 3 place, we're in the top 3, so you know these are. It is Coven, and Coven I watched more than once. I actually really, I know Coven is one that people talk about a lot too. It's like, that's not horror. It is actually. There's some really great stuff in Coven. They deal a lot with Coven with a lot of, I guess you might be able to say real horror. Like they always try to put like real stories and real killers and stuff within the American Horror Story universe, and this is no exception. There's so much to love about Coven, and it is weird and quirky and strange, and it has horror, and it has almost almost an X-Men type of feel to it. With if you've seen it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, we're down to the top 2. So what gets the number 2 place for me? The first season, Murder House. Murder House was actually a really, really good. So what a great opening for a series to set it up, and incredible. So Jessica Lange is amazing in this. Connie Britton unfortunately doesn't come back because she goes on to do Nashville after this, so she's only in this season. She didn't come back afterwards, did she? Unless she came back in Apocalypse, I didn't know that. But there's an actor in this, and I can't remember his name. He's in almost all the seasons. He just quit, I think, in the last season. A young guy. He plays. If you watch the X-Men films, he plays Quicksilver. He's incredible in American Horror Story, and he does an amazing job in this one right here. Actually, he's amazing in all of them, but specifically this one really stands. He really stands out in this. An incredible season, and something that you're not going to forget anytime soon. So obviously that makes my number 1 top American Horror Story season pretty obvious, actually. Were you an extra on Nashville? That's cool, man. Did you get to meet any of the cast? Because, damn, there's some. Yeah. Asylum. You agree? Asylum is by far and large the best season of American Horror Story. And it's American Horror Story when it's at its peak, when it can take things that are seemingly completely out of the box, unrelated, and puts them all together into such an amazing mix that shouldn't fit. This one here deals with abuses and at an asylum. It deals with a serial killer. We have a possession. Each one has its own arc, Javed. When you watch them together, though, like you'll see things like that'll come over, but you can watch the season of American Horror Story anytime and not have to see the other seasons, except for maybe Apocalypse. That one I think kind of relates to a lot of seasons, especially the first season, Murder House. I think this even has a dance sequence in it, and you know what? It suits it. It fits. Everything fits. None of this stuff should fit. Usually 13 to 14 episodes per season. I think 13 actually. Let me check for you. This 11, 12, 13, 13 episodes. They're usually very cheap to buy. Like especially you get them on Black Friday, Javed, they usually $8 or $9 a set. And that's good for like a 13 episode series. And this one here, by the way, got James Cromwell in it. We get Zachary Quinto, an amazing performance by Zachary Quinto in this one here. Jessica Lange, Sarah Paulson. You see you're tired of Sarah Paulson, but she's really good in this one. Jessica Lange kills it in this one. And there's this girl, and I can't remember the actress's name. No, it's 22 is a bit long in the tooth for a series nowadays, I find. So like a 13, like a 10 or 13 episode series, it's solid. It's you got a good solid story, and because you've got less episodes, you can actually focus more on the actual story, and you got the budget, because you got a budget for a 22 episode series, and you're doing like 10 to 13 episodes. You see that on the screen, and you do see that on the screen. American Horror Story, they do a great job with what they do. 8 to 10. 8 to 10 is good. I think 13 is like is kind of a sweet spot, but 8 to 10 is a little bit is just 10, I think. I wouldn't go lower than 10 for a season, but that's why I think you're getting so many shows that have to do the 22 season, like because of, could be syndication, the way that it's set up in the network. You're finding them do like mini arcs now. Like a lot of shows, like Flash, for instance. Flash is doing like half a season, and with one villain, and then like they'll be throughout the first half of that season, they'll set up for the second half of the season. It's clearly like 2 half seasons that are being done. Dark Shadows. We're going to talk Dark Shadows, actually. I actually have Dark Shadows. There's a long story behind my Dark Shadows. My better half went out looking to get me Dark Shadows. Dark Shadows, Javid, was a gothic soap opera back in the 60s that was on its way to getting canceled. When all of a sudden they said, okay, we're getting canceled. Let's do what we want to do. Let's go nuts. Let's make this mother that's been talked about for a long time in the series but never shown. Let's make her come back. But she's a mythical phoenix that dies and is reborn and is trying to kill her kid and do the same thing with him. Let's do that. That worked out really well. They got great ratings. So they said, you know what? You know what's also really good? Vampires. Vampires are great. So they brought in a Canadian actor by the name of Jonathan Frid. And he played Barnabas Collins. I actually played a couple Collins throughout the years. But he first played Barnabas Collins, the vampire, which saved the show and made it extremely popular. There's a great documentary called about it, called The Man... Actually, I'll show you. Oh, that's what I'm doing here. Dan Curtis, Javid, was Beyond Dark Shadows. And if the name Dan Curtis kind of has like a familiar ring to you, there's a reason for that. Dan Curtis is the guy that did Night Stalker and Night Strangler. He's the reason that that X-Files exists, because Chris Carter, who made X-Files, which I guess fits in the horror series, was inspired strongly by Dan Curtis's series Night Stalker. Of course, with Kolchak, Carl Kolchak. Now, this is a documentary called Master of Dark Shadows. I watched this with my better half pre-Halloween because I knew that I'm going to be getting Trilogy of Terror 2. Dan Curtis has also been on Trilogy of Terror and Trilogy of Terror 2. This is a fantastic documentary, and I strongly recommend it for anybody that doesn't have it. Pick it up. As soon as I picked this up, I showed my dad that this was something that was available. He went out and he grabbed it as well right away. You'll get to learn a lot about the genesis of Dark Shadows, and we found a Walmart. That's actually pretty cool, dude. So, my better half knew that I was a huge Dark Shadows fan. Oh no. Dark Shadows? I've got the set. Now, the thing about the set when I got it, she bought it for me for my birthday one year, along with a lot of other stuff, but she paid a lot of money for the set. The set that she got turned out to be a counterfeit set. Luckily, it was of extremely high quality, and I've actually watched the entire series with no glitches or anything like that, or no loss in quality. I've seen the real set. It's very similar, but if eagle-eyed people will know the difference. Now, when I first picked it up, it was early on in my YouTube YouTube journey. I wish it was a career, so I did an unboxing of it, and on DVD. My better half was unaware at the time that it was counterfeit. She didn't know till later on. I found it earlier on, but she spent so much money and time on it and was so proud of it. I didn't want her to know, obviously, right? So, but people kept mentioning it. Some people were nice about it. Some people were not nice about it on my YouTube channel. You'll find that's one of my only YouTube videos that has comments disabled. That's the reason, because at the time, if she had found out around that time, she would have been crushed. She would have been hurt. And I didn't want that to happen. But I told her later on, after I'd seen it and watched it, and I knew that the set was good, so that she wouldn't feel bad about it. So, Dark Shadows. You want to see the set? Here we go. The original set, the real one, there were special editions of it that had Jonathan Freed doing a hey Shadow, doing a like writing a like an autograph. So this is Dark Shadows, Javed. This is Jonathan Freed. Now there is a one season remake series that was starring Ben Cross that came out in the 90s. So this one here goes 130 something discs, and the last disc one is all like features. So 1,245 episodes, I think, is how long it ran. It's a great one. They even did a good job of replicating the book as well. So, although this one here did turn out to be like a kind of what you call them, a replication of the set, what I'm guessing happened, and I'm pretty sure I'm correct on this one, is that whatever company, whatever factory made that set, wherever it came from, certain ambitious people probably took it and took extra copies and sold them online. And although that's not, you know, the 100% legit set, it kudos to whoever put the work into that set, because it's incredible. It truly is one of the best things in my collection. Yeah, the movie is based on, but the movie's a comedy. You got to understand that right now. The movie is a comedy. Stay away from the movie if you haven't seen the series Dark Shadows. It's okay. It's a fun little film, but if you can't watch anything else, like if you want to see like something, if you want to like kind of see kind of encapsulation of it, check out the '90s series with Ben Cross. It actually has Barbara Steele in it as well. A great cast: Barbara Steele, Joanna Going, who was a big actress back in the day. There's Michael T. Weiss, who was in, of course, The Pretender. He's actually in the Dark Shadows series. But Ben Cross does an amazing job as Barnabas Collins. And it's, is it Lizette Anthony that plays Angelique? Or is that I think it's Lizette Anthony that plays Angelique, right? In the remake series. Now, just so you know, Javed, they're looking at remaking Dark Shadows again. So they're going to be doing another Dark Shadows series as well. Hopefully it gets off the ground. They tried to do one in around 2002, 2003. They got a pilot done. It never made it past the pilot stage, but they're trying once more to do Dark Shadows, and I'm guessing more than likely we're looking at probably CW for Dark Shadows. There's also a couple actual movies out, Javed, that came out in the 70s. There is the House of Dark Shadows, and there's the Night of Dark Shadows. One of them is a vicious vampire film that takes away all of the romance of it, and as Barnabas as a very vicious killer. There's a lot of blood. It's dark. I actually liked it. I thought it was really good, and it did. I think it did well. So Fred didn't want to come back. Fred didn't want to come back for the second Dark Shadows movie. Thanks. This is heavy as hell, man. We actually bought this from a store that was closing out, and we got this for like really cheap, but the only kind of like thing was we had to move it, and this is like hundreds of pounds. The base is like really heavy. They're not, but they are by the same guy. Dan Curtis was a guy that was known for doing horror. Dark Shadows, like after he did Dark Shadows, he did Night Stalker, Night Strangler. He did the Norliss tapes, which kind of precedes both Night Stalker and Night Strangler. It's very similar to Night Stalker and Night Strangler. And I think that has Roy Fiennes. I can't remember like right now, but I think the Norliss tape might have Roy Fiennes. If you ever get a chance to see it, check it out. It's something that's harder to find. I don't think it's on DVD or Blu-ray. He also went on to do Kolchak, the Night Stalker, the TV series. He did a bunch of gothic horror films on television, and he used like Jack Palance in like a lot of those. So if you ever see like Dan Curtis, like Dracula starring Jack Palance, that's Dan Curtis. He also did The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde with Jack Palance as well. And he did Turn of the Screw. So those are the three I remember that he might have done more. Of course, he also did Trilogy of Terror. He didn't direct that when he produced it. He felt, he directed Trilogy of Terror. He didn't direct Night Stalker. I think John Hoff directed Night Stalker. He directed Night Strangler. And of course, because he was one of those guys that really wanted to be in there, at his hands, like right into the mix. Later on, Dan Curtis would be famous for things like Winds of War and things that were like miniseries that won incredible awards. But he had he is the reason like the Gothic horror kind of made its way on TV. Much in the way that Hammer kind of revitalized and brought Gothic horror back into the movie theaters. It was Dan Curtis that brought Gothic horror onto our small screens. And you can thank him for any other show, from X-Files to Strange Luck to any of that stuff that came afterwards. Dan Curtis is the grandfather of it all, and he brought it all to us. So hopefully that explains Dark Shadows a bit. And I'm glad you actually asked that, because that's something I'm extremely passionate about. Yeah, Room 230. It's a fun film. All right. Before the 2000 and something series Dracula that starred Jonathan Rhys Meyers came out, and I got to pick that up actually, because that is a store that I went to recently. This came first. Dracula the series. Now, who remembers this? So this is like a kids realize that the Dracula lives in their town. It's pretty good. Ironically, this has only ever been put out by Platinum, and if you're familiar with Platinum, they're no longer around. So this was a company, they put out things like, just like Mill Creek and companies like BFI, they're fairly cheap stuff, fairly cheap company. But they're the only ones so far to put this out. I would love this to get a Blu-ray edition. If you're like a Canadian kid, for instance, like YTV, you probably saw it on there. The guy actually does a good job. In this one, Dracula's got a suit, he's got a secret identity as Dracula, of course. He is Alexander Lucard, a billionaire who is bent on world domination, and the only ones that can stop him are these two kids and their grandfather, who is, after all, a Van Helsing. Which one? Wasn't the show Counts custom guy in a Gothic show? Which one? Now, I do recommend the Jonathan Rhys Meyers Dracula as well. I did think it was really well done. It does have the guy that played Dracula in Dracula 3D, the Dario Argento one, playing Van Helsing in this one. Thomas Kretschmann, something like that. I always get his name wrong. Am I going to talk about Thriller? Yes, I am. Thriller is one of the early shows that I saw. Javid. I'm a huge fan of Thriller. That has a lot of really creepy episodes. And even before I saw Thriller, if you watch my Stephen King episode, you know that my favorite Stephen King novel of all time is Danse Macabre. You'll also know, if you've ever read Danse Macabre, that Stephen King devotes a chapter on television, and he goes strongly into the series Thriller. Thriller was an incredible show hosted by Boris Karloff. Now, there were a couple thrillers that were done. There's a UK show called Thriller as well. But the thriller that you want, the thriller that you're looking for, is the Boris Karloff thriller. It was put out by Image Entertainment. It has some great stuff, and the stars are insane. The amount of stars that are in the show Thriller. There's a ton of audio commentaries on it, a lot of like features, and there are out and out creepy episodes, like seriously creepy episodes. Now, ironically, the first episode I saw, I'm not sure if this was the first episode or not, wasn't a horror episode as much as it was more of like a tension-filled or terror episode. And it had such a simple premise, and I guess it would make a lot of sense today. And hey, and ready, we're talking TV horror, so something I'm sure you know a lot about. And it was this. There was a little kid that, he was likes cowboys, like dress up like cowboys. Kind of a bit like Tales Unexpected. I love Elvira. And he takes a gun and he thinks, for him it's a toy gun, but it's not. It's a real gun. And we know this kid is going around with a real gun, with the ability to shoot himself or to shoot somebody else. And that's pretty much the concept of that episode. Hey, Cat Lover, welcome. And it is tense. It is as I remember, it was like really tensely done. I guess nowadays that would like take on a whole different context, wouldn't it? But it was a really good episode. Somebody asked me about Elvira. Now, the first time I saw Elvira wasn't on TV actually. I used to rent those big box like VHS cassettes that he had out in the day. Remember those? There was those with Elvira, and then Sybil Danning had an action series, and Elvira had a horror series. So and I think Grandpa Munster had like the Grandpa from the Munsters. He had his own like series of like low budget horror films as well that they would put out on VHS. But Elvira, I did end up watching a bit of the Elvira series. I watched the that's downstairs too, but I got that. I got Monsters, got the Addams Family. I remember watching when they put her on Hulu, and they did like 13 days for Elvira, and I think it must have been in conjunction with Full Moon, because I'm pretty sure almost all of those movies were Full Moon films that she hosted during kind of like the rebirth of it, like on Hulu. With Creepshow back and Joe Bob, the fantastic Joe Bob last drive-in on Shudder right now, I am utterly like devastated to find out that Shudder turned down an Elvira series, bringing Elvira back. And it would have been so good. Let me move over here. See, I will. You always know, I will invest you if I will let you know if there's any good deals out there. I'm trying to think. There's nothing I can think about right now, but hopefully something coming up soon. Yeah, she mentioned on Twitter that she reached out to Shudder, and to no avail, they shot her down. If you think that Elvira belongs on Shudder, hosting a show on Shudder, be sure to tweet. If you got Twitter, be sure to tweet them to let them know you want Elvira show on Shudder Television. We do. I've tweeted them, and I will tweet them again today because Elvira. Anthology shows were the big thing when it came to a lot of the horror stuff. And I've talked about American Horror Story, which is an anthology series where the story goes over one season. But original anthology shows like Twilight Zone, The Outer Limits, Alfred Hitchcock Presents, Tales from the Dark Side, Monsters, those were, an episode at a time. If you're watching Creepshow the series right now, then you're going to know that there's 2 Creepshow films. Oh, Night Gallery. Good call. There's 2 Creepshow films, and there's a third one that I don't think exists. But Creepshow did do a TV series before this. Unfortunately, they didn't have the rights to call it Creepshow, so they called it something else instead. They called it Tales from the Dark Side. Tales from the Dark Side is the original Creepshow, the TV series. This is by the people that did Creepshow. It has some amazing episodes, and there is the lovely Lucy, who you'll learn about when you watch this show. And if you haven't seen this show, I strongly recommend it. This set usually goes for a fairly decent price, and Creepshow ran from 1983 to 1988, so that's all 5 seasons. All the seasons are in here, and that's 90 episodes. So it is a 12-disc set, and just to give you an idea of some of the visuals and some of the look behind Creepshow, that's the one that Romero did. Yeah, he actually directed some episodes of this show, including the pod episode. This, my friends, is the gloriousness that is Creepshow. There is a audio commentary by George Romero on the pilot episode. There's on-air George Romero featurette. bonus episodes from the production company that brought you Tales from the Dark Side, Akbar's Daughter and Attic Suite. Stories by Stephen King, Clive Barker, Robert Bloch, and many more. Actually, no, Creepshow itself is actually largely inspired by what inspired the Warren comic, Creepy. Creepshow is inspired by the EC comics back in the day. I might actually try to get in a day on horror literature during the 31 Days of Horror as well, including like horror comics and some of my favorite horror books. And, put a film in there as well. I'm trying to diversify this so that I can do as much as watch and read and do as much as possible and make these videos, hopefully, give them enough difference and spice that they continue to be interesting. So it's not just I'm not just saying a movie or a series of movies on a day. We're getting into more than that. You like that? We will do that. We will do that for sure. Don't even forget it though. We will get in a day of horror, comics, and literature. We'll talk about things like Stephen King, Nick Cutter, the EC comics, the Warren publications, and we'll talk about some of the fringe comics that came out around that time. Those ones that went outside the Cove, House of Leaves. Have I ever read House of Leaves? I may not have read House of Leaves, so remind me of that one on the day that we do that. Because the good thing about this, guys, is that I don't just like show you stuff or recommend stuff to you guys. You guys tell me about stuff and recommend stuff to me and everybody else on here. And that way we leave a video, hopefully, one, learning stuff from each other, and two, having recommendations, other films or books or TV shows that we never may have thought about before. And that's kind of the key when there's so many people from so many different places that you get that stuff. I'd actually forgotten about Night Gallery, and I have Night Gallery here, actually. I've only got one season of it, though. Night Gallery was a different show. When Rod Serling made Twilight Zone was completely him. Everything that came out of Twilight Zone was his pen. He had pretty much carte blanche on that show. He fought the companies so many times. Were you the person who mentioned the documentaries? I would do a documentaries one. Somebody wants a commentaries one too, but I gotta watch a few more like commentary ones that I'm behind on before I can do that, because I want to make sure it's good. It's at least good quality, right? But when he got to do Night Gallery, it was a different thing. The studio was very much in charge of Night Gallery. Night Gallery became a very different show. It, aside from being Monster in the Week, there was episodes could have like 2 or 3 stories in them. They would have like comedic like buffers in between. Some that were really good, some that honestly were kind of cringeworthy. But when Night Gallery was good, when it was on point, when they did episodes like they're tearing down, Tom Riley's bar. Fantastic episode, more dramatic than anything else, but still a fantastic episode. That kind of like goes back to the Willoughby episode of Twilight Zone, or the episode where, and I'm pretty sure this is Night Gallery. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, where the worm type thing, goes into the ear, and kind of like the only way he'll survive, basically, is if it actually kind of makes its way through the other side without driving them insane. And I will give away this episode. This is the one episode I will spoil for you. Is that throughout the episode it's driving him nuts. This thing can kill him. It's like making its way through his brain. It does get out the other side, which is fantastic until we realize it's laid eggs. Night Gallery was from the 70s, if I remember correctly. Shows like Monsters and Tales from the Dark Side, those were more from the 80s. Pretty much. Like when he did, you could tell when his writing was beyond the episode, and when it wasn't. The pilot for Night Gallery was actually really good. There's 3 stories. It was like a movie length, and actually, it was one of them is directed by a little director that I'm not sure if he did anything afterwards, but his name is Steven Spielberg. You know, some of these guys just disappear. But yeah, Steven Spielberg actually directed one of the stories in the pilot episode of Night Gallery. The pilot episode actually was a 90-minute long film. If you can get them both, get them both. If you can only get one, I'd go with The Fly. But The Omen said that's really hard. Depends on what you like. If you like monster movies, go with The Fly. If you like, like the more like the kind of religious, like type horror, then go with The Omen. A lot of great actors in the Omen series. Yeah, it's a good show. It's definitely not as good as Twilight Zone. Twilight Zone is a classic. Now, they put Twilight Zone out on Blu-ray a while back, but I got this set, and I could never give this one up. This was a Twilight Zone, the Fifth Dimension box set that they did. And this does not just include the original Twilight Zone, it also includes the 80s series as well. That's really hard. I mean, I honestly wouldn't be able to tell you because I'd have to go back and look at the episodes to see. But when you open it up, there you can see it right here. This is the original Twilight Zone. This is the 80s series. There is a bonus disc thing here. Actually, it's 2 bonuses. Bonus disc or 2 bonuses? It's 2 bonus discs right here. Duel is incredible, man. I love Duel. There's TV horror for you right there. With the interviews with Rod Serling, different like things about Twilight Zone. Another kind of neat thing, if you're into this stuff, which you guys know I am. They included this, and I always like to show this because I think it's really neat. When I was a kid, I used to go we used to go around and we'd get like these 3 packs of comics, right? And there'd usually be Dell or Gold Key comics is what we'd get. And this is a reproduction of an original Twilight Zone comic book. And it is the complete and full comic book. With the, when they used to have like short stories, like 1-page stories in there as well. What's really cool about this, guys, is when you buy this set, you get one of 4 Twilight Zone comics. You do not know which one you're going to get. There were 4 comics reproduced for this set that were randomly put in. So when you go and you pick it up, you don't know which comic you're getting. Oh, that came in the set, right? This comic came with the set. That's one of the neat things about this set. It really did go in depth. It had a guide for the original series. I'll just open it up and show you guys with like pictures. The reprints are still, as long as you can find the set. They all came with the set. So if you can find the set, it should, if it's unopened, of course, it should have a reprint comic included with it. One of 4 comics are included in the set. As you can see, there's the 80s series as well. And I really did like the 80s series of the Twilight Zone. I actually like the 90s one. A lot of people don't like it. The one with Forrest Whitaker, I actually like that. I have that one as well. It was, ironically, the hardest one to find because it's, for a while, it was cheap as dirt to buy. Then it went out of print and it became really hard to find. Oh yeah, I used to buy it when I was a kid. That's the thing. I'm a huge fan of Twilight Zone. Gold Key used to put it out. See, those reprint comics, that's from an actual like Twilight Zone series. There was like Twilight Zone series, and at the same time, they did Boris Karloff, Tales of Mystery or something like that. That was put up by the same company, the Gold Key company. As long as it's about TV horror Ghostbusters, guy. We're doing TV horror today. But yeah, it was a 70s Twilight Zone. Though my kids love Goosebumps, I was a little bit too old for it. Though I did watch it. Though which would really be like Goosebumps or Are You Afraid of the Dark? And Are You Afraid of the Dark wins because us Canadians, we can do horror. We can do horror well, especially kids horror. No, actually, Are You Afraid of the Dark is just a good show. I'm not sure what the new miniseries Are You Afraid of the Dark is going to be like, but that's one I was going to mention. So, but it wasn't the only one. This is a season. I brought up a season of Alfred Hitchcock Presents. Now, Alfred Hitchcock Presents was, again, a very unique, kind of cool, suspenseful show that used a lot of like famous actors in it. If you've seen The Twilight Zone, but you've never bothered to get into Alfred Hitchcock Presents, you really, really should. There's an episode in the first season starring Joseph Cotton where he plays a guy that's like, he's a businessman. He's pretty emotionless. And that's going to be a key thing because he gets in an accident and is presumed to be dead. So throughout most of the episode, I think it's only on DVD, at least here in North America. It may be on Blu-ray in the UK. They usually tend to get some of these shows on Blu-ray before we do. That's totally unhealthy. The only thing that he can actually move is like is his pinky finger on his hand, but his hand is kind of like under him. And there's these guys that basically they're going to do the autopsy on him, and he's trying desperately all throughout the episode. You can hear like his monologue in his head, like trying to find a way to let them know that he's still alive, not to open him up, that he can feel, that he can't move, but he can feel. He knows they're there. He wants to scream, but he can't. And they're getting closer, and they're getting ready, and they've got they've got the scalpel. They're going to put the embalming fluid on him. Does he like find out a way? Check out the episode. Really, seriously do. It's a really good episode, and it's really suspenseful. Yeah. One way that Twilight Zone, the last out Alfred Hitchcock Presents, is that in the fourth season of Twilight Zone, they wanted a hour-long series. And they tried it. They worked with the hour-long format for Twilight Zone in season 4. And although it wasn't completely unsuccessful, they quickly went back to the half-hour-long format in the next season. Alfred Hitchcock Presents successfully did an hour-long program. Psycho 4. By far and large, Psycho 4. That's one of my favorites, actually. I think Psycho 4 is tremendously underrated. Yeah, Alfred Hitchcock Presents really, really managed to kill it with the hour-long episodes. Something that Twilight Zone never could get quite used to. And you can see that it still doesn't work completely right with Night Gallery. But Alfred Hitchcock, kudos. Now, before both of those shows came about, there was another show. It started out on radio. No, we haven't mentioned Tales from the Unexpected or not. Well, Night Stalker we mentioned because I did a big talk at the beginning of this episode on Dan Curtis. One Step Beyond. Now, this was, I think Delta put this out. I thought this was an Image release, or maybe but it was a nicely done set. We haven't missed all of it because we're still haven't spoken about the other one. And it's a cool little like early series for anthology series. Not the quality of like a Twilight Zone or an Outer Limits or anything like that, which we'll get in Outer Limits as well. But it's definitely a fun like look back at like the early days of TV and the early anthology days. It has some pretty decent episodes too. So I thought I'd bring that one up. I remember that one. I didn't remember Hannibal, but I remember One Step Beyond. Isn't that crazy? Next up, I guess, is the one that I hope everybody owns. And Kino put this out. It is truly one of the great TV shows put out on Blu-ray, and an amazing condition. Of course, this is produced by Joseph Stefano, and that is The Outer Limits. This is the original Outer Limits. Of course, there was a Canadian remake of this show done, and it lasted for a long time. But the original Outer Limits was incredible. I'm not going to lie to you guys. This belonged, if you're collecting horror, if you like, science fiction, if you TV at all, then these two sets, they belong in everybody's collection. No, the remake's not. It's good, but it's not better. We get nudity in the remake. I guess that's good. But only if you have the Canadian edition. I don't think they did. And Europe, I think, didn't you lose the nudity over there? This is incredible. And the neat thing is, there's like a ton of like audio commentaries on this one. Hey Ryan, yeah, you're not getting. Did you hit that bell thingy? That's what they do nowadays. They say like to hit the. I always forget to say this. Oh, if you're watching my videos, I guess hit the notification belly thing. Yeah, and hopefully that'll work. If you hit like on my videos, usually that does it as well, because then they know you like it. That those videos you're watching. This the second season has has less episodes, but it's filled with features. It's really filled with just look at this. These are the special features. And aside from audio commentaries like the last one, you're going to get interviews, the Museum of Television Radio panel that they did, promos, TV spots, David Show interview that was it. There's Penn and Teller's host segments for this one that were done for TNT, promos with people like Harlan Ellison, Martin Landau, William Shatner, and it just truly is one of the greats. And they put in some a great book with each one of these as well. It's true. I could literally turn this channel into a TV horror channel and keep going on. I guess technically, but we're not going to get into Sharknado. I could easily do a second channel where we haven't discussed that. Well, we discussed animation. We can discuss some animation. Though it almost deserves its own video, doesn't it? I'm making a lot of work for myself here when I think of these things. Hey Brian, we've been talking TV horror. A lot of stuff you would have liked too, like Twilight Zone, like The Outer Limits. We mentioned Tales from the Dark Side, One Step Beyond, Dark Shadows, all iterations, and the whole work of Dan Curtis. V, I wouldn't consider V V's more sci-fi. I love V. I own the series V, the original series. I got the first season, I think, of the new series. It's meh, but the original series V was cool. But I'm just going to take them as yeah, definitely. In my family, Frankenstein, yeah, he's probably part of the fam. Actually, I love that picture. I have one of the Mummy as well, but it's over in a place that you can't see. I've also got some Neil Adams artwork of him, of Tarzan and Conan. Did they take the new V off the air after 2 seasons? A while back. Yes, there were a couple Hammer TV shows, actually. There's the Hammer's House of Horrors. And, there's another one. There was 2 TV shows that they did. And they're both anthology series. They're actually really good. I don't have the Hammer shows. but I really need them. Those ones like are strongly on my list of ones that I have to get. And a couple, at least one or two of the episodes, actually is kind of a continuation of one of the films, kind of. And what's the Peter Cushing one? You're a bad man. Black Mirror is very much I would consider a horror show. That would be a killer indicator about. I would love that ride. That's an excellent idea. Black Mirror very much is. Black Mirror is the Twilight Zone of today. It is the closest thing. I mean, you're right. I got an autograph like Freddy here somewhere or something, because although the Jordan Peele, which Twilight Zone show, definitely has the vein of Twilight Zone, and it's good, but I haven't seen all of it, so I can't really talk a lot on that show. I've liked what I've seen, but I think Black Mirror is the closest we've gotten to seeing like a Twilight Zone level of like anthology, like quality, since back in that day. Like we've gotten like good ones, the remake of the Twilight Zones and stuff like that. They're all good shows. They're the Hitchhiker. Again, another like show that I really with Paige Fletcher that I really like. But the closest thing I've ever seen come to giving like the Twilight Zone style of quality and kind of paranoia that you get in a series like that is Black Mirror. The one thing that Black Mirror loses out on that Twilight Zone does have is that Black Mirror is primarily a future paranoia show. Twilight Zone and Rod Serling himself had strong messages of hope. As many episodes that would be like twisted and horrible and oh my God, this happened. Seriously, go back and watch the Twilight Zone. There's a lot of hope in humanity and in the series Twilight Zone. Rod Serling did some episodes as inspirational as anything that Frank Capra would make in the films that he made. I think growing up with shows like Twilight Zone and stuff like that is one of the things that makes me that eternal optimist. And thank you, Rod Serling, for that. Because yeah, that's the one thing Black Mirror is missing. We've only seen it once in Black Mirror. We've only really seen it once. And it worked really well. And that's San Junipero. The sun getting closer to Earth. Wasn't that Night Gallery? With the sun getting closer to Earth one. I'm pretty sure that's Night Gallery. No, Twilight Zone, really? But Twilight Zone doesn't stick with that. Well, yeah, it's Twilight. There are episodes like darker episodes of Twilight Zone, but it doesn't stick with that. It's not all darker episodes. It's not like dark after dark after dark. It's not like a completely like Black Mirror can get pretty depressing if you're watching. If you're marathoning Black Mirror, aside from around 2 episodes, it's a pretty depressing show. This Barbara did it. The classic British anthology film, pretty much considered the first. Kino actually put a really good edition of that out recently. I already have it because I picked up the one in the UK when I was there. But if you've never seen Dead of Night, it's really good, but it's not one that. So moving closer, it's just Twilight. Is it really? I got to see which episode that is, because I remember one with this kid that you can tell the future type thing, and in it, do you know the episode I'm talking about though? I wonder if one of the reasons that we haven't seen like something done on the Twilight Zone is because of what happened like behind the scenes. We know the actors that died, like the 2 kids, and it was Vic Morrow, right, during the filming of the first scene, first segment of that. See, even Twilight Zone the movie knew to put in a little bit of hope with the kick the can one. It was a tragic accident that unfortunately happened. I really remember. I love the film though. I actually do love that film. To Serve Men. Remember that episode? Like I think a lot of people made fun of that. Oh yeah, he got in trouble. John Landis got in some trouble for that, of course. But you know, he sir, the I'm actually surprised after that happened that the movie actually came out. I'm glad it did. It was a fantastic film. But I could understand people being like, really, well, obviously people died, so families being upset about that. John Landis got off lucky. I mean, the studio probably pumped so much money into the Twilight Zone film that they just had to. I've seen it around. I mean, like you can find it on Blu-ray. It's actually really cheap to buy on Blu-ray. Though there's never been like a really big edition of it. Rod Serling made the series like the Twilight Zone, much for the same reason that you'd see like Star Trek got made, so that he could talk about things that at the time on television you couldn't talk about regularly. Playhouse show couldn't talk about racism. It couldn't talk about couldn't talk about segregation. Couldn't talk about stuff like that. Serling could, under the guise of fantasy and science fiction. Gene Roddenberry could, under the guise of fantasy and science fiction. Both men were extremely ahead of their time, and both men were pretty much idealistic dreamers, which comes through in their TV shows. But they had their dark periods, and you can tell that in some of their shows as well. No, Rod Serling has passed away long ago. When I was a budding writer back in the day, and I mean back when I was a teenager, I think so. I would have to look it up, Brian, but I'm pretty sure that it was the first one. Well, the first multiracial show to have a person of another race in a lead, in kind of a lead, like ongoing role. And with that being, it's also the first one to have like an interracial kiss as well. And that was the way they did that was they said the network asked them to do one where they kiss and one where they don't kiss, but Shatner kept doing takes and takes of the kiss on purpose. And at the end of the day, when they just had a little bit of film left, he did one take without the kiss, but he did it so badly that they had to go with the kiss. Monsters are doing Maple Street. Oh, yeah. Monsters, there's sadly probably not going to be a time that Monsters are doing Maple Street isn't going to be relevant. I would love, but not in my lifetime. I don't think I'm ever going to see a time that show is not going to be completely irrelevant. See, this is the closest you'll get to me like talking about anything political is when we talk about Rod Serling. He died fairly young, yes. I'm going to check here because I don't remember the age he died at. That's the truth. Like I'm looking it up because I'm not not going to lie to you. There's a lot of stuff this guy does not know. He died in 1975. Wow. He was 50. He was 50 when he passed away. My kids just went out to a shop and just took some pictures for me. They always, my better half went to Sunrise Records, which I'm gonna mention this really quickly. And she picked me up something, and I know what it is. I won't say it till I get it. It's not horror though. It is got some great features that I had to have. I had the chance. You guys can tell me, did I make a mistake here? We didn't have a lot of a lot of bones, a lot of cash ons for to grab something. So I just grabbed one film. I had she had of Unknown Origins. She had the Rec box set up in her hands as well. And I just ended up going with one Scream Factory, like just an inexpensive one. But because there were so many features on it, and if you got the Scream Factory one, you're going to know what it is right away, because there's like hours upon hours of interviews. I was tempted on the Rec box set. I really was. I did, however, get a T-Rex onesie. So that's coming as well. Maybe I'll wear that for you guys one of these days. If I do like a dinosaur like related episode. I'm not joking, I did that. I got a T-Rex onesie for fun. It was like super cheap, but so we couldn't pass it up. Yep, Night Gallery. Rod Serling, by the way, guys, for people, like if you're just finding about Rod Serling, he's the guy that wrote Planet of the Apes. That's a good idea, actually. Now, kind of makes me need to get Tammy the T-Rex, doesn't it? Him has just cinched me having to get the November package of Vinegar Syndrome by buying me that T-Rex thing. Thank you, Shadow. I can use that. No joke. What about this? About Planet of the Apes? No, yeah, he did Planet of the Apes. He actually wrote the screenplay for it. The original one. Their name becoming a Japanese soldier. I can't remember that one. That's the racist one, right? Where he turns into a Japanese soldier. But yeah, no, it's like yeah, I haven't seen the episode in a long time, so that's the reason I can't talk about it. But yeah, I guess that was one of his big ones, was Planet of the Apes. I know that he wrote some really good stuff. Some of those Playhouse episodes are amazing. In a way, I guess. Actually, I don't think so. I think if Rod Serling had seen the ending of The Mist, he would have been upset. Because Rod Serling could get extremely dark, but I think that would have been too dark for Rod Serling. I'll watch that one again. I got to watch that one, guys. Because as dark and depressing as a lot of the Twilight Zone episodes could get, and as jaded as Rod Serling could be, we'll get to the Nightmare on Elm Street series. Don't worry. It's called Freddy's Nightmares. I think he would have been let a little bit down by the fact that it went that dark. But I'm not Rod Serling, so I don't know for sure. All right, so somebody just mentioned Freddy's Nightmares. Freddy's Nightmares is a show that came on when I was finishing high school. It lasted for 2 seasons. It would be played very late at night here in Canada, usually around 3 o'clock in the morning, because it was a show that had violence and a little bit of nudity. Not very much, actually, in the show, and it had a lot of big stars like come out of it. Like Brad Pitt was in Freddy's Nightmares. Sybil Danning was in Freddy's Nightmares. Mariska Hargitay from Law & Order SVU actually did an episode of Freddy's Nightmares as well. Looking very much like she did, I guess, in the Ghoulies, because that was around that age time. There were a lot of actors that came out of that show. How was the show itself? It was a mixed bag. I thought Freddy's Nightmares was a lot of fun. Do they all hold up today? Hell no, they don't. I really like that. But like, it's fun. It's a fun show. Ironically, the thing that stands out as being the most cringeworthy thing for Freddy's Nightmares would be Freddy. Some of Freddy's wraparound hosting segments were cringeworthy to the nth degree. It was obvious that they were shot in advance. Some of them really had nothing to do with the episodes that they were involved in. Freddy had lines that would never make it to the show. Like, what's the one? Oh, yeah, put that in your VCR, and it was just insane. Oh yes, the episode with it where the origin, that was a good episode. Actually, it's a two-parter because later on in the season they followed up because the arresting officer that makes the mistake, the one that like gets him free, he has like two daughters. I'm not sure if they're twin daughters or if they're just like two. He has two daughters. My kitty's here, and there's like a follow-up episode with them two. So there's only a couple that has Freddy like actually in the story. When he's actually in the story, that's done actually extremely well. There's one really good one where this kid moves into Nancy's house, and it deals with like a bunch of like kind of like traps and stuff like that. It's a really good episode actually, and some of the worst episodes, kind of the are for me are some of the best, to be honest with you. Like they're so bad they're good type of thing. There's one about about dating, about like wouldn't be online dating. It would be, you remember those the episode where they had this like if you saw the show, like dating, you should be able to get I guess you could be able to like do a tape, like, and people would get like tapes of like other people, like, hi, my name is Aaron, type of girls I like are such and such, and there'd be all these videotapes. You could choose a person from tape number 3 or 4. So there's a videotape dating episode of Freddy's Nightmares that literally ends with a guy being squished by a Zamboni machine. It's actually pretty cool. I actually enjoyed it. Cats, yes, we need a kitty horse show. But Freddy's Nightmares was a fun series, which gets me into the other series. I think they were actually. Which, if it's filmed on tape, is fantastic. Because I don't know if I can say that I like one over the other. I do like both. I love film, obviously, and I love the medium I love the visual medium, but I also like books. And I like fiction and non-fiction. I'm weird though. I'm strange. I'm weird. The other, speaking earlier of Dark Shadows, there was another horror soap opera that came on. There's actually 2, and they were actually one called Passions. That, I'm not joking. I sure it's called Passions. It was a horror soap opera, and there was one called Port Charles, which was a spin-off of General Hospital, and it was also about vampires. I'm not joking. There's a spin-off General Hospital about vampires. Actually, Tales from the Dark Side usually comes out fairly inexpensive. I remember when it was at Walmart for like $25 or something like that. So like keep an eye out there. Amazon usually has on for decent prices, unless it's one of those things where, oh look, we're gonna jack the price up now because it's Halloween. As far as like other horror related shows that I'm going to mention, kind of like just mention briefly, there was, and I do consider this kind of horror related for the early episodes, the Swamp Thing, the series. Oh, it still goes crazy. I'm not joking, man. I can tell you the plot line to it right now. You'd still think it was a sci-fi movie. This show gets so dark. This is the original Swamp Thing series. So dark that they literally take the lead kid from the show, have the main villain, Arcane of course, fake the kid's death, and sell him off to white slave traders. Dark enough for you? And by the way, he's never rescued. This isn't one where Swamp Thing goes and rescues him. Kid is never heard from again. Nope, kid's not. No happy ending for that kid. White slave traders, that's it. Welcome to us. This is actually pretty good, depending on the season. The first episode was really disturbing, really well done. That is Poltergeist: The Legacy. If you're a wrestling fan, I'm going to get around to that one actually because I really like that one. This the Undertaker is an episode of Poltergeist. I actually like this show. I guess you could kind of consider American Gods a horror. I loved American Gods, but it was a fantastic series. If you haven't watched it, do so. Uh, it's bloody brilliant, and David Tennant is so perfect for that role. If you love the book, you will love the series. Oh wait, the American Gods. Okay, I'm wrong. American Gods is really good, but I got confused. I apologize. Good Omens is the one David Tennant's in. That's better. Watch Good Omens. True Detective, definitely more of a thriller. But in line of that, I thought if we're talking horror, we got to mention Twin Peaks. And Twin Peaks is one of those original like thriller mystery horror shows. Does it fit under horror? Well, it's got a psychic vampire. So yes, it does fit under horror. You know, you're pretty much alone on that thought, right? When it comes to Twin Peaks, it's one of the classics, dude. You got to rewatch it. This was the original set that came out, the original Blu-ray set. There is a new one coming out, like a real expensive one, which is really amazing looking. Now this was the original set. I do like the way that it was done. You never finished Twin Peaks? Oh, dude, you got to finish Twin Peaks. Though I like that this one has Fire Walking Through with it, which I really like that. I was so in love with her, man. Who was not in love with her? Her and Matt Shanamick. Oh, have a great evening, Kathy. You've been quiet today, by the way. I guess you've been getting ready. Enjoy your work day. And I don't have a lot to say about this one because I have not finished it. I've only watched the first episode. Apparently it's really good. I didn't get into the first episode very much. Thank you. And this is, unfortunately, I didn't get most of it up here. But has anybody watched Castle Rock, like the complete season, first season? Because I haven't. I saw the first episode, a bit long in the tooth for me. I'm hoping that I'm going to get into it as it goes through because there's so many like characters throughout it, and it's such a great cast. Like Alexander Skarsgård. No, Bill Skarsgård. Bill Skarsgård's in this one. You know, the guy that played Pennywise in it. Well, he's not playing Pennywise. He's playing a different character here. And like, it's such a great cast. We're looking at so many people. The girl from Carrie's in this. That it's. I got to get through it. Like it starts at Shawshank Prison. The second season's coming out. It's going to deal a lot with with the girl from Misery, like as she was when she was young, and it's going to deal with Carrie's mom too as well. So we're going to get that aspect of it in Castle Rock season 2, and I'm really interested in seeing that. Shows that I did mention, but I'll just kind of briefly give like a bit of lip service to. There was the now going on to its last season. Is it? Well, you mean the miniseries? I like it. I mean, I have to understand it was done in the 90s, and the budget is what a TV miniseries budget is. I think that Tim Curry did a great job in the role of Pennywise, but it's a very different beast than the film. If you watch it, try not to compare them because although it's the same story, they're very different. I do like the fact that as big as a miniseries it is, it's still a lot shorter than the two films. So that's always a good thing. Supernatural, which I thought was a really kind of a cool series. Jim Carrey's Pennywise, that would be awesome. Alrighty then. Sci Factor was an X-Files type show that actually had some cool like horror elements in it as well. I just wanted to mention those like quickly before we went on. One that I should mention, I guess, is Friday the. You asked me about like Freddy's Nightmares. Is Friday the 13th the series, which wasn't called Friday the 13th the series. I will mention that one too. Don't worry. In other places, it was called. What was it called? It had another name. Friday the 13th series actually had another name. Like Friday's Curse or something like that. Because really what it's about is a guy by the name of Louis Vendredi. I'm not joking, Louis Vendredi, and for those of us that know at least a little bit of French, know that Vendredi is Friday in French, has an antique shop. Louis Vendredi has made a deal with the devil. I actually got that one downstairs. I haven't brought it up, didn't bring it up though. I didn't think about that as a horror series, but I guess it kind of fits. So he dies. There was a Shining miniseries that starred the guy from Wings. Actually, he does a really good job in the role of Jack Torrance, and I have that downstairs. You guys are gonna make me go downstairs, aren't you? But Louis Vendredi, he dies in the first episode, and his store with all the antiques are bequeathed to his niece and nephew. One is played by the gorgeous Roby. Trust me, she is gorgeous. Look her up. She was a singer as well. So they quickly sell off all the antiques. And then they're going to sell the shop and leave. When Jack Marshak shows up, and he lets them know that, oh, by the way, all these antiques are cursed. That's the thing. All the antiques have a curse on them. Then it's their job to go out and get. Every week they're getting a different antique, a different cursed antique, trying getting it back as this killing. Like David Cronenberg, Adam McGowan, they all directed episodes of Friday the 13th series. I think David Cronenberg's one is the Mulcher one. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, because where basically you'd put somebody into a mulcher. You would put somebody into a mulcher and money would come out the other end. There's a really good episode, like kind of a Phantom of the Opera type episode, with where Roby's character falls in love with this guy that's actually using this makeup thing to make himself. Yeah, I used to watch that actually. What was it? Are we talking about Good and Evil? Is it Good and Evil? Or am I mixing it up with another show? It could be Good and Evil. There's a couple shows like that kind of ran with that kind of premise. But I remember the show. It didn't last long enough, actually. I'm going to check here. There's a show, by the way, short-lived show called Strange Luck, which was a kind of almost a... Every time I go to put up like that, I get like other shows. But it was something like that. I can't remember the name right now. I'm sorry. Hannibal's fantastic. There were a couple shows came out. There was Hannibal, which I really like. One that I strongly recommend, if you want to know what Scream 3 was supposed to be, what the series was going to be, watch a show called The Following. This starred Kevin Bacon. The Following was an excellent series about a serial killer, the Reaper. No, Sons of Anarchy basically do it. It's just like Hamlet with motorcycles. I'm not even joking. It's not like a put down. It's a great show, but that's what it is. It's Hamlet with motorcycles. But The Following basically has this guy that is a serial killer. He's been caught by Kevin Bacon, who going inside his mind basically. He's a kind of a profiler type guy, has kind of wrecked Kevin Bacon's life. He's wrecked his family life, everything. Suddenly, the serial killer escapes, and Kevin Bacon quickly finds out that throughout the time that he's been in prison, he's been able to use the internet, and he has garnered a cult, an actual cult of other people, of other serial killers and followers. And the following, that's exactly what it's about. It's really good. It runs 3 seasons, and it should run more. It goes different in the second. It goes with a different, like, kind of serial killer cult in the second season. They bring back the original guy from the and James Purify, by the way. If you know the actor James Purify, he plays the serial killer. Like, that's not a no. There's no like mystery. There's no like no. He's a serial killer. That's the thing. He's in prison at the beginning of it. And the neat thing, especially with the first season of The Following, exactly, is that every episode, every couple episodes, you're finding out another person that's in the cult, and it could be somebody that's been in episodes. Could be a cop, a FBI agent, a friend of a friend of the family, and they'll seem like they're good, and all of a sudden there'll be a twist, and they'll be one of the cult. The Dexter's right here. Carnival was amazing. I love Carnival. Brimstone, there. Thank you. Actually, I like Brimstone. I forgot the name totally though. I have to shave tonight. Carnival ran 2 seasons, 2 amazing seasons, and they definitely need to be shown. Bates Motel was a fantastic series. Bates Motel, the pilot film from the 80s, not so much, but worth seeing for a curiosity's sake once. What have I missed, guys? I'm sure there's lots of horror shows that I missed at this point. Charmed? I enjoyed Charmed. I mean, I'll be honest, when I watched Charmed when I was younger, I watched it primarily for the fact that he had some very cute girls. That's, I guess, it's been remade. There's a new series, Charmed. It's actually kind of cool. I like Psycho 4. That's one of my favorites, actually. Actually, I didn't cover Tales from the Crypt. I did do Dark Side and Outer Limassol. But Tales from the Crypt, how could I forget one of the great horror shows of all time? Tales from the Crypt was excellent. And we had like 7 seasons. So it ran for 7 seasons. Aside from Tales from the Crypt, there was like a cartoon series spinoff. Hey, Danuch. There was a game show. Did anybody look up the game show after I mentioned it to them the other night? The Tales from the Crypt game show? Ray Bradbury Theater. Yeah, I actually did. I think my kids got the first season of it. Roald Dahl's Tales of the Unexpected. I've got the first series of that one. That's actually a really good show. I used to watch that when I was a kid. I remember one year when I couldn't act in the play because I was going out of town. I actually directed it, and we used a story from Roald Dahl from that Tales of the Unexpected series, and it was the one with the guy that's extremely nervous. And Roald Dahl's extremely dark. He's much darker than Rod Serling, actually. And he wrote kids' books. And where basically this guy's going around, he's had a nervous breakdown, and now he's gotten better. But he's going from like house to house, kind of like in this like nice countryside. Dance of the Dead Marionettes, I think is the theme song. Da 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 da. I have no tune to my voice. I'm not even joking. That's the truth. I did talk about Night Gallery. But yeah. The Leg of Lamb, of course, is a famous episode from Tales of the Unexpected. A wise man believes only in lies. Oh, Lamb for Slaughter was in Tales the Unexpected. There's also the one with the old ladies that killed people that came to their house. Did I see Kingdom? I saw both versions actually. I saw the Kingdom, and I did see Kingdom Hospital too. That when Stephen King redid it. She Wolf of London. First season better than the second. Hilarious House of Fright. Hey, this is how I know you're Canadian like me, dude. Hilarious House of Frightenstein is being remade. Did you know that? I'm not sure how they're going to do that because Billy Van is one of a kind. It might be an Alfred Hitchcock episode too, but it's also a Tales of the Unexpected. That one made it into a couple shows. I do. I have some of the Veil episodes here. I don't have the complete series though, so I haven't seen them all. I don't think. As Freddy Hitchcock presents, see, Lamb. Well, Lamb got around, man. What's the one David Bowie hosted? I can't remember. Yeah, where one kills her husband with a leg of lamb, and then she serves to the police officers. And there's the bet one where you lose your finger. I remember that episode as well. Oh, I didn't mention Hammer House of Horror. I loved Hammer House of Horror, though I don't own it, and I really, really should. It was a fantastic show. My dad has it. I need the Blu-ray of it, actually. It seems so dark here now. Kind of fits, doesn't it? It's kind of suits. Count Fly. So, SCTV, of course, had the monster. Kolchak. Yeah, I did like a big thing. If you watch that later on, I did like a big thing on Dan Curtis at the beginning of this episode. Javid here actually hadn't seen the series Dark Shadows, so I kind of went into that. And Dan Curtis is like, Werewolf. I remember watching Werewolf the day that it premiered. Werewolf stars John J. York. Of course, he's now in General Hospital. He's been on the show for years. But Werewolf was a half-hour series that started with a kind of a movie-length episode. And originally there was I think it was Chuck Connors was the main kind of bad werewolf, the gray werewolf. Great werewolf costumes, by the way, in the show Werewolf. If you ever check out, like, great costumes. More reminiscent of the Curse of the Werewolf thing from the Hammer movie with Oliver Reed. They kind of lean more into that when they do the werewolf for the series Werewolf. So John J. York, I think it's Raphael Sbarge, is his friend. It's been a long time. I think it's Raphael Sbarge who would go on to be in Once Upon a Time. I think he plays his, I could be wrong, but I think he plays his friend who gets bit by gets clawed or bit or something by a werewolf. And he goes to see his friend, and he gets his friend gets killed, but he gets scratched. He gets the curse, so he becomes a werewolf. And the only way to stop it is to kill like the head of the pack that started that starts this curse. And the guy that he got to go after is Chuck Connors, who's supposed to be kind of the lead werewolf. That's the one that he keeps going from town to town, helping out other people, trying to get closer to the Chuck Connors character to end his curse. Now, Chuck Connors quit the series part of the way through, and then he had to bring another person in for that. So they kind of changed the mythos around part of the way through the series. X-Files, Chris Carter, that is definitely horror. Millennium more so horror than X-Files in some aspects. Harper Island. Oh, I love Harper's Island. This, like, as a slasher fan, it's definitely one of my favorites. Obviously, Scream, the TV series, came out and did a decent job with that stuff. There was a Slasher, the TV show, which I still have to buy. Only the first season so far Scream Factory's put out, as far as I know. I don't think they put out seasons 2 or seasons 3. But if you've never, I'm not going to tell you much about Harper's Island because honestly, watch it. Okay, I'm not going to be Frank's Island. It's not a TV show, but there's a lot. There's a lot more. There's obviously more TV shows we can talk about, and we will do so. Probably anything that I missed this year, we can do so next. We can do so next Halloween. So, what is tomorrow's video about? Do you know? Do you want to know? I liked Birds of Prey. Doctor Who, yeah, I'll get into. I'll don't. I was expecting a Doctor Who set, but it doesn't come until later on in the month, and it had like the Green Death in it, so I was gonna like use that. Finger syndrome. I'm trying to think because there's some. Are you ready? I did a lot of Vinegar Syndrome stuff. Actually, I watched the movie, and I got to rewatch. I got to watch some of the features tomorrow. So tomorrow, for those, especially for those who have it, for those who are familiar with it, we are going into gory gothic, and we are talking about Sergio Stevoletti's Wax Mask, an underrated little Italian gem that definitely goes into gothic. You were close. It Stevoletti is actually a big fan. Oh, Charmed 007. So Charmed 007, capital C. So we will talk about Sergio Stevoletti's Wax Mask, and along with that, if we got the time, because I'm back to work tomorrow, so it may be a shorter video than this one. We will try to talk about some underrated gothic horror films. I'll follow you back. So it was, yeah, it is. That's what things is. That's what I tell you. You've earned your badge, your bad movie badge. Oh, perfect, Mary. So you're perfect for ready for tomorrow. No, my Twitter name is my Instagram name is Charm007. My Twitter name is just Mr. Vincent. That's what. But Twitter I don't talk a lot about movies on. It's like usually that's more of my private political stuff and stuff like that, which a lot of people don't care about. I always recommend Instagram over Twitter for that like specific reason. Phantom Carriage and Loud and Lost Souls, nice, good movies. But there you go. Is everybody gonna be ready for the Wax Mask tomorrow? Vincent, Vinsyn, like Vinegar Center, Mr. Vinegar Center. We'll talk about the Wax Mask, but don't feel left out if you haven't got the Wax Mask. We'll talk about other Gothics as well. Maybe we'll talk about other wax horror and oriented films. Like there's the Vincent Price's Wax Mask. There is the one that was done before that as well, The Mystery of the Wax Museum. So we'll have all that to talk about, and we'll compare them. We'll see like which you like better and which one left the biggest impression on you. So we'll be going into Gothic. We're going into waxy horror tomorrow. I'm Aaron. This is my watching room. You got any movie recommendation for you tonight? Well, Wax Mask if you got it, but if you don't have it yet, I'm not quite sure. Anybody got any movie recommendations for Jesse before we go? Hudson Hawk is not a good movie. But try. What type do you want? I mean, you could go with the Universal horror. You could go with the Hammer. Or you could go with something kind of weird and trippy. Waxworks. There you go. Waxworks. That's another one that we can talk about tomorrow. I'm Aaron. You guys are the movie club. You guys are rock. You guys rock. You guys are awesome. And I am almost out of words. So right now, it is time for tea. Talk to you later, everybody.